Hello everyone and welcome to the class. Today I'm going to teach you how to keep your Mac's hard drive healthy using just the built-in tools that come with the Mac. Now there's a couple things I need to go over before we begin. If you want to skip this little spiel and go straight to the class, I will put the time code right here so you can just fast forward to that point and get on with the class. One of the things I want to mention before we begin here, two especially important items. The first is that before you do any of this stuff, it is really important that you back up all of your data, because the last thing you want to do is make a mistake and not have backed up everything and then potentially losing a lot. The other thing I want to mention, kind of on the same note, is if you happen to find this video on YouTube because you search for the term or something like the term spinning beach ball icon on the Mac, something like that. The spinning beach ball, also by the way more affectionately known as the beach ball of death, is actually, it's like a cold. It's like a symptom. It's a cough. You know, a cough can mean that you have a cold or it can mean that you have the flu. It's a symptom. The big thing that I'm concerned with whenever I'm chatting with a client and I hear those words is that it can be one of the symptoms of hard drive failure. Now, every trick I show you today is not going to do a thing for you if your hard drive is failing. Typically speaking, if we go based on statistical data, if you have a laptop, hard drive failure is likely to take place somewhere around the 3 to 4 year mark. Now, if you have a solid state hard drive, it's typically a little bit longer than that. If you have an iMac, so desktop, typically it's more in the 4 to 7 year range. So if your computer meets that number, make sure you back up your data and get it to a professional, preferably an Apple store. So I hope you enjoy it. Here are just a couple of different little tricks to keep your Mac hard drive healthy. Coming up next on PCClassesOnline.com.
Welcome everyone. So the first trick that I'm going to show you is just kind of a good rule of thumb to keep in the back of your mind, which is this general rule that you want to keep 20% of your hard drive free, if possible, at all times. And the easiest way to find that number is to just simply go to the Apple icon at the very top left corner and click on where it says About This Mac. Now, when you get to this screen, it could look a little bit different depending on what operating system you're running. You can see right here, I'm on OS X Yosemite, which is version 10.10.2. From here, we're going to click on the little tab that says Storage, and this is going to give you sort of a general map of how much free space you have. And I want to make this very clear. The 20% is not this number. It's actually this number plus this number. So your Mac actually keeps local backups for Time Machine in between when you actually do back up your computer. So the actual number is, in my case, 73 gigabytes plus 27 gigabytes, which does give me a decent amount of free space. And if I'm sure I took a little bit more time, I could actually clear out some more. Now, before I recorded this video, I actually went through and I did all the different techniques I'm about to show you. Here's what actually happened on my computer, and you'll see I ended up getting some space back. When I first started everything, I had 82 gigabytes free, okay? And that's total. That's this plus this. So not as much as I do now. Then when I did the first trick that you're going to see, I had 83.9 gigabytes free, so only freed up about 2 gigabytes. But the big one, when I was done with everything, I got back this amount. I got back 100 gigabytes, total of 100 gigabytes, which is a great number to have. So in order to do all the different techniques I'm going to show you, you have to be not in your user account. And the reason why, to make sort of a silly metaphor, is it's a little bit like trying to do your own brain surgery. It doesn't tend to go that well. So what you're going to do at this point is you're going to go to the Apple icon and you're going to go to Shut Down, and you're going to let your computer completely boot off. And once it's done that, you want to kind of let it sit there for a little bit just to make sure it's completely off. One thing I want to mention at this point is actually the next trick, which is a good rule of thumb, which is just to simply restart or shut down your computer every other week. at least. Apple says one thing. That's kind of what I've always been taught, which is every other week. It's just a good idea. The reason being is there's certain types of updates that won't really clear out of your computer until you actually do that. There's other kind of files too, but we don't need to get into the techno jargon. So make sure you do that. It's just kind of a good rule of thumb. Now, when you turn back on your computer, right after you hit the power button, and forgive me, I'm going to have to switch at this point to my live feed, which is from my camera. So I'm just doing voiceover at this point. When you turn on your computer, there are two keys that you need to hold down as it's booting up, which is the Command key and the letter R. R as in Randy. And that's going to bring you to a menu option where you can do everything from reinstall the operating system. The way that you can do it through this screen is not really the way I tend to recommend it to everyone. It will work. It will be fine. It just takes a lot longer than the other method, which is to basically create a restore disk on a flash drive. I'll create a link to that. You can see the class on how to do that in the description of the video. But from here, what you're going to do is you're going to go into disk utility. And from there, you're going to see all the different hard drives that are connected to your computer. And here's what you're going to do. So here, sort of towards the top left, you're going to see on mine, it says Macintosh HD. And one of them is sort of indented, and one is, what is the opposite of indented? Outdented. We're going to do the top one, okay? How's that sound? And the first thing you're going to do, you're going to click on it so that it's highlighted, and then go here to the bottom where it says Verify Disk, sort of towards the bottom right, and you can run that. It should not actually take that long, and it's just going to go through and find whatever problems there may be, and this will help prevent things like directory damage. The easiest way that I've found to kind of explain directory damage is this. Imagine you're in your house and you're trying to get somewhere, okay? You're trying to get out in your car, but you just can't find your keys. Directory damage happens when basically just files kind of get a little bit cluttered. It's the easiest way for me to explain it, and it just kind of puts everything back in its right place, okay? So this is a good tool to run. You don't get nearly as much benefit of running this when you are logged in. That's the reason why I'm having you do this as you're logged out. So the first thing you're going to do is run verify. When it finishes, hit repair disk. That is, if it needs any repair, and it almost always does. That trick alone is going to bring back the most significant amount of data you'll probably find over the course of this video, which, by the way, if you decide to do this, I'm always curious to hear your comments. I would love to hear how much data, how much free space did you have when you started this video, and how much did you have at the very end. So when you're done with the repair option, you can quit out of disk utility. Easiest way to do is just hit Command Q, and you're just going to basically end up rebooting your computer. That's the first trick. The second is you can basically repeat everything I just told you, except instead of going into disk utility, you're going to reinstall the operating system. And it just means using the top option. Now, if you do this, it is really important. You must know your Apple ID. And too many people out there don't. That would be the email address and the password that you use when purchasing things, for example, on an iPhone, on iTunes, that kind of thing. And it's not a bad idea to do this every once in a while. You will typically get back a little bit more free space. And what's nice is that if you do download the version off the internet, this is the part that you do get from doing it online as opposed to creating a recovery disk. You're getting the latest version, meaning all of the updates are already part of the operating system. And that process can take a few hours. It totally depends on your internet connection. So if you have a really fast internet connection and a good router, probably maybe 2 hours. If you have a slower connection, potentially a lot more than that. So this is the kind of thing that if you're going to do this, you might want to consider doing this overnight, just to prevent any potential disaster. And whatever you do, do not interrupt the process as it's reinstalling the operating system. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching us on YouTube, we really, really appreciate it. If you click that little like button when you do that, you're going to help other people out there discover our videos, not just this one, but our others in general. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. There's a little button on your screen. Just click on that, and it's instant. This is David A. Cox with PCClassesonline.com. Class dismissed.